Good morning, all my dear students. Today we are going to start with Civics, chapter number 1, that is Introduction to the Parliamentary System. Before starting our lecture, student, let me tell you, every country has different form of government. If you are going to talk about India, then India has accepted the parliamentary system of government. If you are going to talk about USA, then they have accepted the presidential system of government. So every country they have a different form of government. So in this lesson we are going to take the introduction of our parliamentary system of government. So let's begin. I want everyone to open your page number 68. So student, in this chapter we are going to learn the machinery or the system of government as given in the Indian Constitution. Now let's see the bracket which is given on your page number 68. Have you thought of this? The first question they have asked, what is a parliamentary system of government? The parliamentary system of government is one where representatives are directly elected by the people. So this is called as a parliamentary system of government. Now the second question is, in India we have a prime minister, but why is there no prime minister in United States of America? So answer is, in the parliamentary system of government, the prime minister is the head of executive, that is the council of minister, which is Indian system, and the presidential system of government. The president is the head of the executive, which is American system. Now the third question is, what is the difference between a parliamentary and presidential system of government? So the difference between the parliamentary system and the presidential system is, the president is the constitutional head in a parliamentary system of government, whereas in presidential system of government, president is the executive head. Now in parliamentary system of government, prime minister and council of minister have more power. But if you are going to compare to the presidential system, then the president has more powers. So parliamentary system, who have the more powers? Prime minister and the council of minister. And the presidential system, the president has more power. So the council of minister is formed by the elected member of the parliament in the parliamentary system of government. And in a presidential system, president is directly elected by the people. So here the president is directly elected by the people, and here in parliamentary system or in India, council of minister is formed by the elected members of the parliament. So this is the difference between the parliamentary system of government and the presidential system of government. Parliamentary system of government where we have in India, presidential system of government where we have in USA. Now you got the difference, who is the head of a parliamentary system? The prime minister is the head of a parliamentary system, whereas the presidential system, president is the head of the presidential system. Okay students, now we are going to move to the next. So students, by saying all those things, these questions would lead us to conclude that every country has a different form of government. By solving all those questions which are given above, by looking at those questions and by solving all those questions, we got the conclusion that every country has a different form of government. Before we go ahead to understand different types of government systems, let us get information about the main branches of the government. So let's study about the main branches of the government. So now I want everyone to look at the map which I have given on the screen. Now we are going to see the main branches of the government. So there are three main branches of the government. We are also going to see the functions of those three main branches. The first branch is legislation, second one is executive, and the third one is judiciary. So what is the work of a legislation? Legislation work is to make laws. whereas the executive work is to implement the laws and the judiciary work is to provide the justice. To give justice is the work of the judiciary. Executive, they implement the laws, law को implement करते हैं, and legislature, they are making the laws. So these are the three main branches of the government. So what are the functions of these organs, their jurisdictions, their limitations, and on their power and their interrelations between these organs are decided by the constitution. Now constitution decide their limitations and power of these organs. It is the nature of their interrelationship that determines the system of government adopted in a particular country. Now we have studied the main branches of the government. Now we are going to study the two main type of government system, that is parliamentary and the presidential system. So the first we are going to study the parliamentary system of government which we have in India. So the parliamentary system of government developed primarily in England. So where exactly these roots are? Okay, the roots of parliamentary system of government are in England, from where the parliamentary system has started. The English constitution is an unwritten constitution. If you are going to talk about the constitution which we have in English or in England, that is unwritten, it is not written. But if you are going to talk about India, then our constitution is written constitutions. And when our constitution came into form? From 26 January 1950, and on that day we celebrate it as a Republic Day. So our Indian constitution is written constitution, whereas English constitution or England constitution is unwritten constitution. Now the government is depend on, or it carried on in accordance with the traditions of that particular country, the customs of that country, and the convention, how it is convenient, and according to that the government is carried on in that particular country. The British Parliament is an institution that has evolved over a period of time. The parliamentary system of government, having its roots in Parliament, is considered as a contribution of England. So as I said earlier also, the parliamentary system of government which we have adopted from England, so it's having its roots in England. India has adopted this parliamentary system from England only. We can see more broad similarities in the parliamentary system of England and the parliamentary system of India. So there are some broad similarities are there in the parliamentary system of England and the parliamentary system of India. Why? Because if we are going to talk about the year before 1947, so who was ruling our country? The England was ruling our country, the Britain were ruling our country, the Britishers were ruling our country. So the Britishers, they already have the parliamentary system in their own country. So the same government system they were following in India also. So in India also they were following the parliamentary system of government. Okay, so from where they have brought, from England they have brought, and that is why we see that parliamentary system of government have its roots in England, and India also adopted the same parliamentary system of government, because from beginning only we were following the same system of government, and that was very familiar to the Indian, and that is why the India decided to follow the parliamentary system of government. And if you are going to see the parliamentary system of England and the parliamentary system of India, then you will find broad similarities between those parliamentary systems. But when we look at an institutional level, the Indian parliamentary system is different in its content. But if you are going to look at the institutional level, different institutional level, then we will find the difference between the England parliamentary system and the Indian parliamentary system. Okay. So institutional level, at the institutional level, the Indian parliamentary system is different in its content. So now let us understand the characteristics of Indian parliamentary system in India. So what are the characteristics of Indian parliamentary system that we are going to study now? The first characteristics of Indian parliamentary system of government is, this is a system of governance The legislature of the central government is known as a parliament. So the legislature at the central level is known as a parliament, or the central government is known as a parliament. The Indian parliament is composed of the president, Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So the Indian parliament is composed of or is consist of the president, Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Now let's study the second characteristics. The members of Lok Sabha are directly elected by the people. So who elect the members of Lok Sabha? People only electing the members of Lok Sabha after 5 years. The number of members in the house is fixed. So students, there are 545 members are present, or it consists in Lok Sabha, and of this 530 members are directly elected by the people, whereas the 13 from the Union Territory, while 2 are nominated by the President and to represent the Anglo-Indian communities. That we are going to study further. Okay students, so right now how many members are there in Lok Sabha? There are 545 members are present in a Lok Sabha. Now let's move to the third point. Election to the Lok Sabha are held at regular interval, that is after 5 years. All political parties contest this election. So all political parties, they took part in this Lok Sabha election, whether they are a Bharatiya Janata Party, whether they are a Congress party. Okay, so all the political parties, they are taking part in a Lok Sabha election. The party which gets more than half of the seats is considered as the majority of the party. The majority party forms the government, and the one who is going to get majority of the votes, that party is going to consider as the winner. Okay, and that party only form the government. So what is given in third point? That Lok Sabha election held at a regular interval, that is after 5 years, and all party, they took part in Lok Sabha election, whether it is a Bharatiya Janata Party, whether it is a Congress party. So all the parties, they took part in election, and the one who is going to get the majority of the votes, that party becomes a winner, and the same party forms the government. Now let's move to the fourth point. Sometimes when no party gets a clear majority, some parties come together to form a majority, and they can establish the government. This kind of government is known as a coalition government. So students, many times what happen? Many parties, they did not get the majority of the votes. Okay, like there are 4 parties are there, but none of the party has got the majority of the votes. So such time what happened? The 2 or 3 parties, they come together and they form the majority, and they can establish the government. For example, A, B, C, D is there. Okay, and none of the party has got the majority of the votes. So 3 party or 2 party, they can come together and they can form the government. Okay, they can form the majority of the votes, like A party has got the 5 votes, B party has got the 5, again C party has got the 5 votes. So total 15 votes will be there, and the D party has only 5 votes. So compared to the 5 and 15, who is having the majority? A, B, C. So they have togetherly, they have count their vote. Okay, so now those 3 parties are together. Okay, and the majority of the votes is 15. So now they can form the government in a coalition. Okay, or together they can form the government, and that is called as a coalition government. Okay, when 2-3 party come together and become a majority of votes, so they can establish the government, and that kind of government is known as a coalition government. Now students, we are going to move to the next, that is fifth point. In this way, candidates directly elected by the people become the member of legislature, and the party in a majority get chance to form the government. So the candidates, those who are directly elected by the people, they become the member of a legislature, whereas the party in majority, the one who has got the majority of the votes, they get a chance to form the government. Now next we are going to move to the sixth point. The leader of majority party becomes a prime minister. He or she elects candidates for ministerial position among his or her colleagues. So the one who has got the majority of the vote, and the leader of that particular party, he become the or she become the prime minister. If you are going to talk about BJP, now the BJP, they have got the majority of votes in election, and who is the leader of that BJP? Mr. Narendra Modi is the leader of the BJP. Okay, and that is why he becomes the prime minister of our country. Okay, and he only will choose the candidates for the ministerial position from among his or her colleagues. Okay, from his colleagues, the Mr. Narendra Modi is going to choose the candidates for the ministerial position. Okay, students. Now the next 7th point we are going to study, that is Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers chosen by the Prime Minister together form the executive in the parliamentary system of government. So as I said, what is the work of executive? Executive work is to implement the law. So which are the members are there in executive? The Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, they together form the executive in the parliamentary system of government. So in a parliamentary system, the executive has a dual responsibility. Dual means two responsibility. Okay, so in a parliamentary system, the executive have two responsibilities. The first responsibility of executive, as an executive, they have to implement the law. So first only we have seen now what is the functions of the three main government bodies. In that the one organ was the executive, and we have studied that the work of the executive is to implement the law. So here also the very important work of executive to implement the laws. And the second work of executive, as they are the members of a legislature, they also have to fulfill the responsibility of the legislature. So as they are the member of a legislature, so whatever the responsibility of the legislature is there, they have to fulfill all those responsibility of the legislation. So student, here we are going to stop, and the next part we will continue in the next lecture. So your homework is go through whatever I have taught you today, read the lesson, and the remaining part will continue in the next lecture. Thank you students.